Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fierros with Tri-City Equity Group. Today, I'm excited. We've got Brian Kiczula on the show. So Brian has been helping real estate investors navigate the changing real estate markets since 2002. So he's been somebody who's been in the markets for a while. I love talking to people, as you guys know, who've been around the block for a little bit and seen some different market cycles. He's an active member of the American Society of Cost Segregation Professionals and founder of CostSegRx. Brian has overseen thousands of studies on properties ranging from single-family homes to large senior facilities. He also does industrial or different size assets for investors. He specializes in accelerating depreciation, helping investors maximize cash flow through strategic tax deductions. And who doesn't want that, especially as we roll into tax season here? But no matter what, it really, really should be a part of your overall investing strategy. If you're an investor, don't miss out on that. So Brian's going to help walk us through that. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me today. I'm excited to just dig into it. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate you hopping on with me and the listeners. And I know you're going to be able to provide a lot of value for everybody tuning in. So you give us a little bit of your background. How'd you get started with cost segregation? There's a lot of different facets about real estate. There's tons of different ways to monetize the business in general. That's kind of a niche market segment. Give us a little bit of your background. How did you get started in real estate in general?
yeah, so initially I got started way back when, I would say 2002, I was doing mortgages in San Diego. So rewind a long time ago now. And really residential mortgages primarily. At the time in San Diego, you had to have a real estate license in order to do loans. So I went ahead and got my real estate license, got my broker's license in 2004, and I've held on to it all of these years. So that was kind of the early, I would say early, mid, and maybe even late stages of the career. And the cool thing about doing mortgages and real estate is you really get to meet and work with, just a ton of different people. And I did that for a number of years, but fast forward to 2015, we ended up moving out to Sarasota, Florida from San Diego. My family's in Florida. My wife's is up in Pennsylvania. So it was a good transition. I had some health issues that totally sidelined me in 2019. So I had to stop working basically for about a year. And if you ever have that happen to you, it's really a humbling thing because you have to stop working and really decide, hey, what am I going to do? What's next? Am I able to get back into real estate and mortgages? And for me, the answer was a hard no. It was just something that I couldn't do physically. So I decided to reinvent myself. And I figured I'd been analyzing tax returns for 20 years, looking at doing mortgages, trying to figure out how to help people buy homes. So I started doing tax returns. I started out doing tax returns, quickly realized that was something that I didn't want to do, let's say full time either. And I started looking again and I found cost segregation, which was perfect because it combined my real estate background with tax returns. And that's how I stumbled into it. I mean, and it's funny because I was working with a company based out of San Diego for a number of years. And it was cool because now I'm working back in San Diego and primarily on the West Coast, but I'm living in Florida. So it's kind of a neat transition. Yeah.
Well, that's actually pretty cool because then you get to, they're both coastal kind of markets, or just one coast to the other deal, both beautiful places, but I mean, very wildly different clientele, though. I know going from the West Coast to the East
Well,
Coast.
the cool thing is I still have a bunch of clients in San Diego and everywhere in between. So it's really anywhere from San Diego to Sarasota where I'm working with clients. And like I was talking to you before you hit the play button, I'll be up in Georgia next week. The week after that, I'm going to be actually in Charlotte. Then I'm going to go up to Columbus, Ohio to do some inspections. So it really keeps me on my toes. So that's one of the things I really like about it.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that. I mean, you mentioned you had kind of a health struggle. There's nothing more, like you said it yourself, there's nothing more humbling than I feel like so often, especially when we're young. Okay, man, like, there's nothing that harms me. I can do anything and you can go forever. And As I've gotten a little older, I realized, man, the injuries linger a little longer. Health becomes more of a priority. Your priorities just shift in general. And then you had the realization too, because some people never have this, right? To stop and visit. Okay, is what I'm doing now something that I want to continue forward? There's been plenty of people that get locked into whatever career path they chose, and they say, well, I just can't leave this, right? I've been doing it for 20 years. I can't switch gears. I can't do anything else now.
Oh, I
Right.
couldn't
And so,
either. I mean, that was my identity. That's who I was
yeah.
for my entire working life. So it was one of those things that it literally sidelined me. So absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, no, no. So kudos to you though for even understanding. Okay, well, hey, I'm going to take away this. I had this prior experience of this career path. Great. How can I also utilize this? And that you trying out the different things and taxes and okay, that's not for me directly. Great. What else can I do? I feel like a lot of the guests that I've had on, it's those first to failure. It's like, oh, I'm going to try this. Nope, don't like that. Let's move on. I'm going to try this. That doesn't work. That doesn't fit my personality, my skill set. Let's try something. Okay, this is the fit. And so it seems like you've been able to do that through your different career tracks to now, what you're doing with Cost Segregation X. You and I are both super familiar with what cost segregation is, but there's going to be a lot of our listeners that have zero idea what we're talking about. They're like, Steve, Brian, I don't know what the heck you guys are talking about. This is literally a foreign language. If you're listening to the podcast, if you're a real estate investor, then you likely are familiar with it, maybe just even at a high level. Fill us in a little bit, like just in terms of what actually is cost segregation, because it's like, okay, this tech term, I don't know what this means. Like, how does this relate to my taxes? I heard it was good, but I have no clue. Like, what? Fill us in a little bit for our listeners that may not be kind of tracking along with us. What is a cost segregation study?
Yeah. So there's five basic bullet points that real estate gives you when you buy it. And the first one is investments. The second one is going to be depreciation. And the thing is cost segregation is all about depreciation. So it's depreciating the asset that you're buying to help offset taxable income. So most real estate is depreciated over 27 and a half or 39 years. So your residential property is 27 and a half years and your commercial property is 39 years. But you have to realize that when you're buying that building, that asset, whether it's an apartment complex, a strip mall, or a single family home, not all of the individual items in that property are going to be 27 and a half year assets. You can read the IRS's audit technique guides and it'll lay it out for you. It'll tell you what you can reclassify as short life assets. So when we're talking about the why around cost segregation, it's about accelerating the depreciation on the assets that you're buying. So if you buy an apartment complex, let's say you have 100 units and all of those units have appliances. So you have all of your kitchen equipment, you've got your washers and your dryers. Those items are not 27 and a half year assets. They're 5-year assets, and we can pull those forward. And thanks to bonus depreciation, you can accelerate most of those items immediately. So in year one, to really boost your return on your investment.
Yeah, no, that's huge. So what I'm hearing, Brian, is that I've got to have 100 units in order to see the benefit of cost segregation. Does that sound accurate?
Oh, not at all. I mean, it scales. So you could buy a $30,000 house in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and still benefit from a cost segregation study. Or you could buy a $10 million apartment complex and benefit. So it all scales. So I would say whether you're a smaller residential investor or you're a larger commercial investor, you can take advantage of cost segregation. What you really have to look at is your return on investment. How much is it going to cost me to do a study and how does it factor in? So that's what I would say.
Yeah, 100%. And this is something that we've always incorporated into our commercial acquisitions. It's just like you'd say, hey, what's my ROI here? Is the benefit from doing the study going to justify, let's say, the expense that we have for doing the study itself? Because for our listener base, right, like the cost can vary, of course, by who's getting it done, but it's going to be thousands of dollars, let's say, for a commercial cost segregation study. Typically, that hasn't made sense. Hey, I've got that $30,000 house in Louisiana that's a long-term rental. Like I think up until recently, because I know there's been some tools that have kind of come online a little bit that make a little bit more reasonable, but typically that's probably not going to benefit you in the same way, right? Like the IRS code does allow for you, of course, to take full advantage of, let's say, the depreciating the asset. But of course, like I said, you always have to weigh out the benefit because
Yeah, I look at it like a residential appraisal, kind of going back to the residential piece. A residential appraisal is going to cost you under $1,000 for a single property that you buy. But if you're buying a commercial building, it's going to cost you several $1,000s. And that's exactly the same. So you just have to take a look at it. I always tell clients, get an estimate of benefit, take it to your tax advisor, review it with them. If it's something that makes sense, then go ahead and move forward. If it doesn't, then don't move forward. But yeah, so to get back to your original question, the benefit is really maximizing the depreciation on the properties that you're buying. And when I look at doing a cost segregation study and really, I don't know, making it hit home for clients, I talk about kind of the walkthrough. So if pretend I'm on site and I'm walking your property, and it could be anything from, let's just call it a residential multifamily property. I'm going to look at your site first. So I'm going to look at your sidewalks. I'm going to look at the roads. Are they public or are they private roads? I'm going to look at any of your site improvements, such as swimming pools, tennis courts. Do you have any fountains with water features? What type of landscaping do you have? And I'm going to reclassify all of those assets as 15-year items. So anything that's outside of the footprint of your building is going to be reclassified as a 15-year asset. I shouldn't say anything. Let's say in most cases. If you have an open air parking structure, there's specific code that says, hey, that's a long life property. So we'll look at that. And then when I look at your building, I'll walk around your building and I'll really look, hey, what type of building do you have? Is it CMU block on a mono slab and you've got a gable roof and maybe, I don't know, a stucco exterior? What type of windows do you have? All of those items are going to be your straight line depreciation items. So your general building structure itself. Then on the inside of your property, we're really looking for short life assets, such as removable flooring covers, your appliances, like I'd mentioned, maybe your window coverings, maybe some decorative or ornamental features that you have in the building. And then we start looking at specialty plumbing. We start looking at your appliance connections, so specialty electrical. And then we reallocate that as 5-year assets. So what we're doing is we're breaking that building into its different components. And then we're saying, hey, instead of a 27.5-year timeline, you have 15-year assets, you have 5-year assets, and then you have your straight line depreciation assets. So I'm counting light bulbs. that's really what it comes down to. I'm counting light bulbs, and it's just one of those things. So that's how I explain it to my wife anyways.
What do you do, babe? That's
It's
well,
totally
well, so like that. So again, if I'm just somebody on the outside kind of looking in and it's like, well, all right, so it sounds like versus just doing the entire structure as a whole, you literally break it down into its individual Lego pieces, and each one of those Lego pieces has like a lifespan on it versus the entire structure being 27.5 years or 39 years, depending on what type of asset it is. And then what I can do, or what you can do rather, is, okay, well, that has a specific lifespan compared to the rest of the structure. And maybe we can do something with that number versus having to wait the full amount of years. The benefit there, I think, and just trying to help bridge some of that gap for the listeners is, I mean, for one, just take into consideration, you're likely not going to have the asset for that long. Like 27.5 years, like most people don't keep, whether it be investment property or whether it be a primary residence. I think it's probably even now too, like with our culture now, it's like fewer and fewer people are holding on to those properties for that long. So you're never really truly going to see the benefit from the straight line depreciation versus doing cost segregation. And then you mentioned it, you touched on it, the bonus depreciation. Tell me a little bit about the bonus depreciation and how that kind of factors into doing the cost segregation and how that can be a benefit.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And bonus depreciation is, I have a conversation with clients just about every day, and they'll say, hey, I heard there is 100% bonus depreciation. I bought this property for $500,000. I want to bonus $500,000 today. That is not the way it works. So you're not able to take 100% of that asset. In most cases, there's some cases that you can take 100% of an asset in year one through 100% bonus depreciation, but that's not normal. That's not on every asset class. What you're able to do is accelerate bonus depreciation on your short life assets, so the 5 and the 15-year property, we're currently in a period where bonus depreciation's phasing out. So in 2022, it started to phase out. 2023, it dropped to 80%, it's down to 60% in 2024, 40% in 2025, all the way until it phases down to zero bonus depreciation. Now, there is talk of, with the current administration, them bringing bonus depreciation back to 100% for tax year 2025. And if that happens, that would be great for real estate investors. I was watching the news yesterday, and they were talking about those torpedo bats that the New York Yankees are playing with. That's a torpedo bat for cost segregation. 100% bonus depreciation. Now, the other thing that I want to make clear when it comes to doing a cost segregation study and bonus depreciation is you're not really getting anything extra. You're only able to depreciate the basis of the property. It's not like, hey, you're building, you acquired it, again, well, just $500,000 and that's your basis. So maybe you bought the property for $800,000. The land was worth $300,000. And now you have a building basis of $500,000. That's what you can depreciate. Doesn't mean you're able to depreciate more than that $500,000. It just means you're able to pull forward a portion of that into the early years. So yeah, so bonus depreciation is powerful in the early years of ownership. Now, there's also some very negative things though, and investors need to be made aware of it. If you're planning on selling this asset and you take bonus depreciation on the short life assets, you really need to have a plan when you dispose of that asset, because depreciation recapture is real. So you're going to have to pay taxes on the assets once you sell them. So what I recommend is getting an estimate, reviewing it with your tax professional, and really making sure it works for your specific situation. What are you going to do after you sell that property? Are you going to do a 1031 exchange, or are you going to buy another property and do a cost segregation study to potentially offset some of that depreciation recapture?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that's part of the challenge with, I mean, it's a super powerful tool, because what it really does is, and in kind of the way that I like to think about it as an investor, I don't want to say it locks you into buying more property, but because it is a super, super powerful tool in order to help offset, let's say, taxable gain. And talk to your CPA. None of this is financial, legal advice or any of that kind of stuff. Like, always talk to your tax professional. Like, that's always a huge disclaimer. Neither one of us is giving you directly advice. So, but you do want to have a plan, because it's always going to be, you're going to have, for one, Brian, tell us real quick. So whenever it does come time, okay, I do time to sell. I did do a cost seg on, and it took the bonus depreciation, let's say, on an asset. Okay, it comes time to sell. Am I on the hook for the full amount that we were able to depreciate using your study? Is that how it works?
No, you're not going to be on the hook for the full amount of your short life assets, because you are going to have physical depreciation of those assets. They're not going to have the same fair market value as the day that you acquired that property. So you have to look at, what is the fair market value of the asset that you're selling. For example, if you bought a property that had appliances, and 5 years later, those appliances are no longer functioning, they have no value. So let's say that you sell the property, but those assets have been removed and disposed of, you've already fully depreciated them. So in that case, no, but let's say that you have not fully used those property or those assets, and they're still in service, then there is going to be some fair market value, and you're going to have to assign that to it when you sell the property. If you depreciated 100% of the initial value, you'll have to have some depreciation recapture on that remaining value. So it is a little bit more complicated. And just realize that even if you didn't do a cost segregation study, you're going to have to pay taxes on depreciation recapture. It's part of owning real estate. So it's just something that you have to work into your plan and really understand how you're going to dispose of the asset. The other real powerful tool that a lot of people overlook when they're thinking about doing a cost segregation study, it's not all about the short life assets. It's also about your straight line depreciation assets. So let's say you acquire again, a apartment complex that has 100 units in it, and you go in and you replace all the unit or all the windows in that apartment complex. So you have a huge capital expenditure. Those windows are going to be 27.5-year assets that you have to do straight line depreciation on. Now, if you did the cost segregation study, you can calculate what your existing basis or remaining basis is in your windows that you've disposed of. So now you could take a disposition of the assets that you removed from the property. So think about HVAC systems, hot water heaters, windows, doors, roofs. I mean, so taking dispositions on the straight line assets it's super helpful as well. So, and I think a lot of people overlook that.
Yeah, yeah. And is this a good fit for everybody? I mean, I know a part of that is going to be really, really the individual's tax situation. And this is kind of how I was saying, like, really, this should be a part of an overall strategy that you're trying to implement. I mean, of course, it can be hugely beneficial to help offset, let's say, gains, because once they generate, let's say, depending on how this applies to you and your individual situation, it can be massively beneficial when it comes to tax time. Like for whenever you guys deliver your study, whenever they're going to factor this in and apply this to their, let's say, their business taxes or personal tax situation, is this a good fit for everybody?
Not necessarily. So number one is if you're planning on selling the property within the next 2 years, I would say don't do it, because you're going to have depreciation recapture unless you have a major tax event. Then maybe you would want to. So that you want to talk to your tax advisor and figure out if it's a good way to move forward. The other thing that you really need to take into consideration is, what's your goal? What type of income are you trying to offset? If you're trying to offset active income, it's going to be one bucket. If you're only able to offset passive income, that's going to be another bucket. And just think they're two buckets. So your income can't jump from one bucket to the other. It's either active or passive. And when it comes to depreciation, that's what we're offsetting, is either active income or passive income. And you really need to have that conversation to see if you're going to see the benefits that you think you're going to see. I mean, for example, most real estate investments are considered passive income. So if I provide, let's say, $200,000 in depreciation benefit, but it's tied to your passive income, it's not going to offset your W-2 job. Unless, and that's where it's one of those things where it's a simple question, very complicated answer. So talk to your CPA.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless go research real estate professional status. How do you get that? How do you maintain that? If you're married, there's definitely strategic advantage to, okay, hey, I'm a high earner, W-2. Okay, but my spouse is a real estate agent. There's different ways to kind of make sure that you're able to take advantage and get the most out of all the benefits that are available. And again, this is all written in the tax code. Like, this is not where Brian's not doing something out here that's not available to all of us, or it's not written there for all of us, but it is a matter of understanding it, fitting it into your overall kind of tax strategy and your investing strategy. It can be an incredibly powerful tool, because you'll hear Brian talking about, okay, well, hey, look, this is a 27.5-year straight line depreciation or 39-year, depending on the type of asset it is. So really what it's doing is it helps to pull maybe some of that depreciation forward a little bit. And so you can help to kind of game plan and kind of maximize the pieces you're moving on the board. And that can really help to fast track what you're trying to do, let's say, with your overall investment strategy. So it can be an incredibly powerful tool to help get you going faster, where it may be, okay, hey, again, a lot of this, guys, too, like, it's really going to be very specific. This will be more beneficial to say, just to Brian's point there, a lot of investors will do, oh, it's passive income. These are long-term rentals. And so they're going to cash flow a little bit slower, a little bit longer. I'm going to hold those, versus somebody who's much more active in their business, let's say like a short-term rental operator, because this can be very powerful for a short-term rental host, somebody who's active. Oh, I've got an Airbnb or VRBO or whatever, and so I'm really actively involved in that business. The properties can be worth more. So you got to look at your individual strategy, how you're investing, and really how it can be a good fit for you, because it can apply to all of those different asset classes, asset types, and definitely to the commercial. But you have to actually look to see, okay, Well, this is what I invest in. Does this work for me in my situation? So definitely, and you can have a conversation with Brian, like have a conversation, reach out and say, hey, look, did this, you think this could be a good fit? This is my situation, this type of property I have, and he can give you some insight into what could be a good fit. And again, I know this is tax and legal advice, but just to get the wheels rolling in terms of what's available to you guys. Well, this is the time in our show, Brian, where we kind of transition to what we call our fire round, just a little bit more brief Q&A. Is that something you're up for?
Yeah, just remember I've got a very one-track mind, so it might not be that fast or that much fire involved in this.
Right on, right on. All right. Well, first question: what is your favorite book recommendation?
Oh
For most
man.
of us that are in real estate, it's like the Purple Bible. It's Rich Dad Poor Dad. But I always love hearing people's answers because depending on what kind of section of the real estate game that you're in, be a lot of different, and it can be anything. It doesn't have to be real estate. It could be mindset. It could be financial. It could be whatever.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'll just tell you the books that I'm reading now because it's not
Sure.
going to be a favorite one that I'm going to point you to. But I just read the history of the United States. I usually go for like
Mhm.
a little bit more like in-depth book to learn a little bit about whatever. So currently my favorite book is Star Wars. I'm reading the trilogy again because I just read that book and I need some junk food. So Star Wars.
Awesome. That's cool. Yeah.
It's like watching the movie every night. I love it.
Oh, and yeah, I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan. Maybe that's our generation, but they have so much. I've never gotten into the books or anything like that, but I know that there is so much out there beyond even, let's say, the original trilogy. There's a lot of material out there that fans have created or that were put out. Like, so there's a lot of it's like its whole own universe. You know what I mean? Which is really cool. So very cool. All right, next question. What would you consider your superpower to be?
My superpower is probably my one-tracked mind. So that's it. So when I focus on something, that's what I'm doing. I'm focused on it. So whether it's a site inspection, working, reviewing someone's depreciation schedule, or for some dumb reason, remembering their last name for the rest of my life. I think that's just my background, writing files and just that's it. That's my superpower.
It's a huge superpower. Too many of us, especially in this space too, it's like, oh man, they squirrel out. It's like, oh, shiny object syndrome. And being in real estate, hey, you know what? Even just on our show, hey, we talked about doing residential sales, doing mortgages, doing cost segregation studies. So even within real estate, there's so many different facets, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, commercial. And it's very easy to be like, oh, that sounds amazing. And then you
Oh,
squirrel
that's
out.
the
So
coolest thing I get to do too is in my world, I get to fly and see all types of different projects across the United States. And it is so cool to see what someone's building in Nashville and then to fly up to Columbus to see what they're building there or to talk to a guy who's turning an old Winn-Dixie into self-storage facilities. I get to see all of that. So it really, there are a ton of facets in real estate.
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. So having the one-track mind, that's actually really good. All right, next question. If you had a time machine and you could go back to when you were 20 years old, what advice would you give to yourself?
Yeah, when I was 20 years old, what advice would I give to myself? When I was 20 years old, I'd moved out of Florida originally, ended up in Jackson Lake Lodge via San Diego, landed in Park City, Utah, and started snowboarding. Ended up going to the University of Utah. I'd say you're on the right track. That's what I would tell my 20-year-old self. Stick at it. I mean,
There
stick
you
with
go.
it just because it was cool. I would say, hey, if I didn't land in Park City, I wish I would have landed in Hawaii. So when I was 20 years old, that's what I would have told myself.
No, no snowboarding here, but you could have,
Surfing.
yeah, surfing. That's for sure. All right, and the next question: what is the biggest lesson that you learned over your career thus far?
You can start over.
Mm,
If it's not going right, or not even not going right, things could be on top of the world. But for me, when I transitioned from real estate and mortgages to cost segregation, I had to turn out the noise. I had to literally take that knob on your speaker, your headset, and turn it all the way down just because it was something I had to do in my life. And that's it.
yeah, no, that's great. That's actually hugely beneficial. Like I said, it's something I feel like a lot of people can't do, or that's a mental thing. Like they just feel like they can't do it. Oh man, I've committed so much time and energy, my career, my life to this one thing, and I can't deviate from that now. And it's like, well, hey man, if that's life sucking, if that's draining the life out of you, then hey, you need to switch gears. So yeah, very good. Well, Brent, if our audience wants to reach out, they want to connect with you in whatever way, what's the best way for them to do that?
Easy. Just go to costsegrx.com. You can click a link to schedule a call with me. You can shoot me an email. I think the company's number's on there. You can give me a call. Like I said, really, if you're thinking about doing a cost segregation study, the first thing that you should do is start a conversation with someone. It shouldn't just be move forward with the study. So I recommend getting an estimate of benefit, review it with your tax planner. And then if it works for your specific situation, then move forward. You really don't want to just engage and move forward with something that isn't the best fit for you. So costsegrx.com.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for hopping on with me today. I mean, I know I benefited from it. I know our listeners did too. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and hopping on with us, guys. So make sure that you're reaching out if you're interested in cost seg and seeing how it can directly benefit or relate to you and your overall investing strategy. Give Brian a shout. Brian, thanks so much for hopping on with us. I really appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
All right. Great conversation with Brian Kiczula over at Cashflow RX. Incredibly powerful strategy, guys. If that's not something you've ever looked into before, it can really, really help fast track your overall investing strategy, depending on what you're trying to do. It can be an amazing, amazing fit. It can really help save you on taxes as well. And then if that is, if that is something that you're really dealing with, whenever you hear people talking about, well, they don't pay any taxes or anything like that in real estate, this is really helping to amplify the benefits of investing in real estate on the tax side. So great conversation. Definitely look more into it or connect with Brian if you have questions about whether or not that could be a good fit for you and your overall investing strategy. Guys, if you're interested in investing with us, go to tricityequity.com to learn more about what we've got going on, prior deals that we've done, returns, all that kind of good stuff. You can find out lots of great information there. Schedule a call with somebody from the team. We're glad to connect with you. If you're here locally in Honolulu, if you're on Oahu, or maybe you're coming out to visit and you're like, hey, Steve, I'm going to come out and I'm going to vacation out there, but I do want to connect with investors out there. Awesome. Hey, we've got a monthly meetup that we have every month, Honolulu Multifamily and More. Great group of guys and girls who just want to get better, want to learn more about investing, whether that be locally, whether that be at a distance. We talk about it all. So we'd love for you to connect with us. Also, we do have our annual conference coming up, the Hawaii Millionaires Mindset Conference, coming up June 19th through the 21st. It's going to be 3 days of action-packed learning. We're going to talk about business, talk about real estate, talk about this tax strategies, and see how that can benefit you and your family to help create generational wealth, help get you out of the rat race, and move you on to bigger and better things. And if you guys are finding value in the podcast, of course, make sure you're subscribing or make sure that you're sharing the show. We'd love to get your feedback. We'd love to continue to grow the show. And the only way we can do that is with your help. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share the episodes. And that's going to be it for today, guys. All right, go out, take some action, guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Aloha.